there is a handout which is the entire presentation today. A few of the slides are actually hidden, so go ahead and unhide those slides here because there's so much information here today to kind of give you. So we've kind of shortened it a little bit just for the time constraints on the webinars and so on. So again, if you have any questions, go ahead and type those in. Kind of stalling here a little bit just to make sure everybody gets online correctly. We'll go ahead and do that. I hope all of you can see my screen. We will go ahead and begin here as we go. Close that up. So again, today's subject is about the partnership with AWS and Empress using our eMAM system in the cloud. Basically, with AWS giving us a lot of opportunities for storage, for server power, transcoding, and archiving storage locations as well, utilizing the eMAM system. So we have the ability basically to manage an entire eMAM system in the cloud or in a hybrid mode. We'll talk about that here in a second, and so on during the presentation. But what I want to do is kind of go through some of the benefits, some of the feature sets that you have available when using AWS and eMAM in the cloud. So kind of to start off here, some of the advantages that you have using cloud. Of course, no upfront costs, and you pay as you go, basically. So not having to go out and buy servers and so on. We'll talk about licensing for eMAM here and the cost there, but with regards to the infrastructure, it's very simple to sign up, get started, and utilizing eMAM right away and storing all your media and so on in the cloud. Very fast and easy way to provision servers and get them up and running. Start those servers, add servers as needed. So that's really a nice thing to be able to turn on servers without having to go out and buy servers and get them implemented and taking weeks and weeks to do. It's basically minutes you can get that done. High-speed network as well within AWS. So between servers and storage, if you have high speed out of your building or your location, again, that helps out as well. But the high-speed network connectivity between servers within the system is definitely able to get to the data, also process data as well through the system. Easy to deploy and scale. What's interesting, we'll talk about it a little bit here in the presentation, is how easy it is to scale up the eMAM system. It does require hardware to do that, but using the AWS environment, it's easy to scale up with the servers, add more storage, add more transcoding power and networking power as well. Also the ability to centrally manage all of your servers, not having servers in multiple locations, connectivity between buildings and so on, everything's centralized and easy access. And again, uptime and durability of these servers as well. Easy to be able to spin these things up, have the backup servers as well. A lot of people use these as a backup location for media, but also backup for an eMAM system for disaster recovery as well. We'll talk about that in a little bit as well. Now, using cloud-based workflows, there's a lot of capabilities within the eMAM system that allows you to share media with others. Now, in most cases, with those proxies and so on, you have to have accessibility to the outside world, and a lot of IT folks do not want to have people logging into their network. Using the cloud-based workflow, we can then share media through links and being able to view proxies and so on within web browsers through the eMAM system. But AWS makes that very easy to do, utilizing their storage and network capabilities, and then through security and so on that you can apply to the eMAM system, we have the ability then to manage who gets to see what and do with that media. We also are able to then share with social media as well and OTT platforms like Katapi.com and YouTube and Brightcove and others and so on. So we have the ability to kind of share media with those platforms as well. Now this is interesting here with remote editing. We have also the ability to share media and share projects around the world. So if you have all of your projects managed through eMAM and your media managed through eMAM. With the media in the cloud, it gives us the ability to share that media no matter where you are. Now, with this high-speed networks and so on, and download capabilities and so on, we can manage then an entire project with editors no matter where they are. So the idea really is to store and manage the project, the media in the cloud. The editors that are remote are able to either download the mezzanine and localize, say, a proxy edit version of the media, cut their show, cut their edits, whatever they need to do, and then upload that media up into the cloud and manage that process all through the eMAM system. The other thing too is, being able to deliver that media from the cloud, making it very easy to push to FTP or different storage locations, that we can actually push that media from the cloud as well. It makes it very, very simple and easy to do utilizing the AWS platform. As well, archive. This is a great way to actually store your media in the cloud. If you go through and look at some of the different costs and the different platforms that we'll talk about today, such as Glacier, you have the ability basically to go in and store all of your media up in the cloud at a very low cost. So the eMAM system allows you to track and manage that movement of that media no matter where it is in the cloud. It may be on Elastic storage, it may also be on S3 storage, but also in Glacier storage as well, no matter where it is. So we can manage, or eMAM can manage, that entire process through the system as well. E2 servers, EC2 servers actually, are easy to set up. We do manage multiple clients in the cloud where they place the eMAM database, the SQL database in the cloud. All web application servers are also up in the cloud. Now, we'll talk about also a hybrid mode where you can actually manage original material locally, but in some cases, or most cases, people will just put everything up in the cloud with the storage, with the database, with the metadata, and then have the ability to stream and manage that media from that location. So it makes it very, very simple and easy to do with doing it this way. Also, with the servers, of course, Windows OS servers, SQL servers, many of our customers actually use SQL servers in the cloud to lower their cost for SQL server management. Also, memory and CPU power, basically easy to configure in the cloud and easy to spin up and then manage the entire interface through the Amazon EC2 platform and be able to manage all of those servers going through. Amazon also has the Elastic Compute Cloud as well, where we can do web services and provide secure, reliable locations for compute capacity. So basically expanding your capacity and growing your capacity of your servers, it's very easy to expand that in the EC2 cloud environment. We also reduce the time required to obtain or boot new servers. This just makes it very, very simple and easy to set up and configure systems, spin those systems up and running. And if any one of them go down, again, we can move media, move services and so on quickly and easily on new servers as well. And then the economics of computing in the cloud as well is kind of pay as you go. The power consumption and, of course, the capital expenses of servers and so on. Using the EC2 environment basically gives you the expanded capabilities of expanding, but then pay as you go as needed. So it's a very nice and easy way to do things. Also with this, we can easily set up different systems. A number of our clients actually want to test out eMAM, and we actually set up applications and demo systems up in the cloud very easily. So you kind of pay as you go, as needed, per hour, per second, depending on what your situation might be. So temporarily, we have systems going up in the cloud and managing those processes all through the EC2 environment, and so on. So no longer, do you have those long-term commitments and upfront costs and payments and so on that you need. It's very easy, again, to increase or decrease your capacity kind of as you go. Now, they do have instances where you can reserve for long-term 1 and 3-year commitments and so on. So again, you can, get some larger discounts based on commitment as well. And then again, dedicated hosts to move existing physical server configurations to the cloud. Basically, being able to push things up into the cloud, physically having those clouds dedicated for use for your needs as well. And so really the nice thing about it is that you're dedicating power to an existing situation or workflow that's required, and then meeting your needs for your company or for your department and so on. So it makes it quite easy to spin up and physically dedicate power. That also comes into transcoding, which we'll talk about here in a second. But spinning up more servers and having the ability to spin up more transcoding power based on, say, needs of uploading new media from new projects and so on quickly, but then maybe not need that transcoding power at a later date. So again, you can spin up things quite easily. There's also the AWS Lambda. This is considered serverless, where we can actually run code through the AWS Lambda system and then actually pay for the compute time. So this, as we go, and we'll talk about this here, eMAM uses Lambda's functions through, say, Python, and manage ingest and transcoding workflows and different processes. We can actually utilize AWS Lambda to actually do and scale for us, but the need for different types of workflows that may be a little bit more demanding and so on. But also Lambda offers a lot more options in transcoding, as you'll see here in a second. So the idea really is to trigger Lambda, run different types of workflows, and in the case of eMAM, using Lambda, for functions in the Python to manage, ingest and transcoding workflows, just gives us a lot of flexibility here. This opens up more and more, whereas before we weren't able to transcode in the cloud as much as we wanted to, and now with Lambda and this addition and this workflow capabilities that we've added to eMAM, working with Lambda, we give the opportunity now for our customers to do various types of workflows and different types of scripting and different types of management of ingest and transcoding and moving assets where they need to be moved. Now we also have the Amazon Elastic Block Store as well. This provides, again, persistent block storage volumes for EC2 instances in the cloud. So again, we can manage different volumes of different media in different locations to improve the performance of the overall system, say for eMAM. In this case here, where we're putting the OS on one block of drives, the database, logs, and other file-based operations in different locations. And what this does basically is improve the performance of an eMAM system and gives you a little bit more transcoding in one area, say proxies in another area, the database is managed in another area, the log files are managed in another area. This, again, improves the entire performance of the eMAM system in the cloud. And this EBS system, basically a platform basically gives us that opportunity to do so. You also have the ability to turn on SSD drives, again, very fast drives. And this, again, is recommended for our eMAM database. But again, you have that capability for also general purpose SSD drives for boot drives and transcoding and logs as well. So again, a lot of flexibility on the storage side that we can do that. Now there's also Amazon S3 storage, which pretty much, as you're going to see a diagram here in a second, that we utilize a lot just as functions initially with media within the eMAM system. So again, you can manage this storage location quite easily through the interface of eMAM called our super admin. And through this web-based interface, I can schedule and create multiple buckets with different profiles and so on of those buckets, and then be able to store that media and metadata in specifically into those locations with a unique identifier. Now the reliability, again, they never say 100% reliability, but we're pretty close to that on the durability of all that media and that storage capabilities, which is quite great. It's, it's nice to have that reliability. We also have, with the different storage locations, we can manage and back up that storage of that media quite easily without having this extra capital to spend as well. So also access, access to and control of the storage as well through permission levels and so on. We can manage that also through eMAM as well. Who gets to see what and what locations and so on. And then again, based on how you use that storage, and we'll talk about Glacier here in a second, but the ability basically to initially put it in S3 and then charge by, on a monthly billing based on how much time that you use in that as well. And then also you're charged with transferring in and out of that location. So just be cognizant of those storage and storage costs and then movement of that data as well. And then also S3 is used a lot for suitable for sharing, remote editing and so on, where workflows we're sharing media across not only in our area, but then across the world, basically through CDNs. We'll talk about that in a second here. But giving us the ability kind of to share the media through the S3 buckets as well. Now, if you're looking for storage that's very, very low cost, this is Glacier, and Glacier gives you the ability to store it at a low cost in an archiving situation. Now, eMAM now has a direct link to Amazon Glacier, and we have the ability to basically share that media directly into the Glacier as an archive location. And again, that high durability of that storage location as well. And very safely, we can then move that media into that location. So again, with eMAM, and I hadn't told you this yet, but with eMAM, you can store up to 4 different locations with eMAM of a version of an asset. So I could have originally stored locally. I could have a version of it stored in Glacier. I could have a version stored in some cloud environment as well, or other storage locations. But eMAM has the ability to kind of manage that entire process. And in this case here with Amazon Glacier, we would utilize the archiving system basically to manage then where things go and how things are stored. And again, now on the offline mode in archive, of course, not being able to edit or transcode from that location, there is times in which you can then bring it back, but there is a cost in time moving that back, and the response time of moving those or retrieving those files is kind of spelled out here. So, between 1 and 5 minutes on an expedited, standard would be like 3 to 5 hours, and then bulk retrievals between 5 and 12 hours. So if the data is not critical in bringing back, but you want to still maintain that data at a low cost, Glacier is definitely a good option to go with. Now, in this past NAB, we had a lot of talk about artificial intelligence. So with Amazon Rekognition, you have the ability now within eMAM to send files to this service and be able to then get face recognition, object, scene, activity, celebrity recognition, continue learning as well. So within this system, I can take a video and I can actually then send it off and get face recognition identified within my video. Now, most of these, like myself, wouldn't be recognized in there, so I can actually teach the system basically who I am, put my name in, but then the next time that video runs through this process, I will then be recognized and tagged in that video as well. So again, through the library, you can kind of build up known faces, tags, extract the face thumbnails automatically. That will be shown up in the actual interface within eMAM. And so the nice thing about it is once it's sent off, it comes back, the data is then displayed within the eMAM interface. You can then go in and search specifically for myself or whoever in that video and then find out exactly where those spots I was in that video. Object and scene, cars, animals, sunny skies, parking lots, different types of things that you see also within the scene will be recognized as well. This helps you identify and add value to your media where you're actually going in and saying, okay, I want to find everything with cars or animals and things like that in a shot that may be B-roll that you're going to use in a production. And so it makes it very, very simple to do that and find that as well. Now, Amazon recognition is a little bit different too than others. You have the ability to keep a library or use a library of celebrities as well. So against politics and sports and business and entertainment, it will actually then go in and recognize for you those people, so you don't have to teach that in that system as well. And then again, as I mentioned, we continually learn as we go here, and we can be trained within the eMAM interface, actually then teach and train the system there as well. Okay, so this is kind of the process in which things happen. We actually then, through our eMAM gateway, send notification to AWS, and then it pulls the proxy and then sends a notification back to us with that information that I just spoke of. So this entire process runs in the cloud. So the media is up in the cloud. For those of you who don't want to send your originals up there, as you can see here, it says eMAM proxy bucket. We can actually set up workflows where only proxies go to the cloud when you're actually ingesting media. So that proxy then goes to the AWS recognition. We then are notified back from there that this information is then going to be displayed within the eMAM system based on that video. It's not instant. It does take a little bit of time, depending on your accounts and so on that you may have with Amazon recognition, depending on the program that you go with. Basically gives you the speed in which you're going to get the response as well. So on CloudFront, this is important for situations where you're streaming video or wanting people to view video from around the world. So giving the ability to do low latency and high transfer speeds of streaming files that are then downloading from the eMAM system. So let's say that I'm here, I'm in Nashville, so let's say I use the local servers and local storage and so on. Somebody who's in Sydney, Australia, could then also stream that video as well. But in the CDN, we start caching that media, and next time that they view the video, so the very first time they view a video, maybe a little bit slow, but as they keep going on, more and more information is cached in those local countries. And then at that point, it's instantaneous when they go back in and view those. So again, we use different methods through the Amazon CloudFront to be able to be compliant and so on. And then again, on that monthly charge, it's basically the transfer and the streaming, and if you choose encryption of your media as well, that also would be a charge as well. So again, you're only used or charged based on what you use and what is streamed in the system. So that's kind of how things go. But again, it doesn't matter if you have the eMAM system, say here in Nashville or LA or New York or London or whatever it may be. Those people around the world can still see your media, have access to your media, and then have a very a good experience of streaming that media as well with low latency as well. Transcoding. So I'd spoken about, before we had issues with transcoding from S3 and so on, where things were a little bit confusing and difficult to do when we do transcoding. But we do currently support FFmpeg, Carbon, Vantage in an EC2 server based environment, and which is integrated with our ingest manager and delivery service. So on the inbound side, the ingest manager would utilize elastic storage and work with that FFmpeg and Carbon and Vantage and so on. And then of course on the delivery side, doing the same thing and supporting that on the transcode side. Now with the Lambda connection that we've added, it gives us the ability to basically transcode directly from an S3 bucket. And with that capability, I can utilize either the Amazon Elastic transcoder, or I can also use the media and convert, elemental media convert, to do any kind of transcoding that I'd like. So the ability here would be, so let's say on ingest, you could use our product called eMAM Feeder, which is an application that sits on your desktop. It takes your media, uploads it to an S3 bucket, and then transcodes utilizing one of these transcoders to then transcode in the cloud and create, say, a proxy mezzanine format, maybe that you're using for Adobe Premiere or something of that nature, or any NLE system, and then doing an offline edit and so on. And then on the delivery side, doing the reverse, so I could actually take whatever I have and then transcode it to various flavors as well. So this gives us a lot more flexibility now with the ability with Lambda to connect with these cloud-based transcoders as well. Now on the transcoding side, typically it's the formats that you need. They're always growing as well. So broadcast, you know, in web, mobile, and VOD and OTT and so on, you have the ability to basically transcode to most flavors that are required. Best to check the AWS site and look at the different converters or transcoders, and then see if it does support your formats that you're needed on the inbound side as well as the outbound side. The very important things on transcoding is you need to have the transcoder be able to decode whatever's coming in and then encode to whatever flavor that you need. So those are the two most important things when you're looking at transcoding there as well. This is quite a bit to swallow here, but generally what happens here is that eMAM feeder that's on the far left there, that is an application that sits on your Mac or PC. You drag and drop an asset. The original is dropped into an originals S3 bucket, and then code is actually sent, text files are sent to an ingest bucket where the Lambda actually picks that up and then notifies the media convert to actually go to the original bucket and then create the proxy for us. So this is kind of a standard workflow for us within the eMAM system in the cloud, and basically getting the media up there and creating that proxy. So if you haven't seen eMAM, we actually use an H.264 proxy to actually view within our HTML5 player in the interface, the web-based interface. So this is kind of a simple process in which we go through, upload the media. It's then run through the Lambda, and then in this case here, the media convert actually then creates that proxy for us for viewing of your media. On the Elastic transcoder, pretty much similar. We use the AWS notifier system as well as Lambda. So same concept. Basically, the original goes to a bucket. The code goes to the ingest bucket to notify Lambda. Lambda then tells the AWS transcoder to go ahead and transcode from the original bucket and then give us that proxy and locate it. Then once the proxy is created in that proxy bucket. That proxy, again, is the proxy you see within the web interface, as well as when you share media out to others with an eMAM link as well through eShare or eSend as well. All right, so Elastic load balancing here as well. Again, giving the ability to have high availability, automatic scaling, fault tolerance, and so on. The Elastic load balancing system and service gives us that ability to kind of expand our needs and give us the ability to, take the eMAM components and spread them across and do some load balancing. So then that gives us a little bit more power and performance within the eMAM system. So again, if you're expanding the database, your ingest profiles and things like that, all those different applications or components of the eMAM system can then be spread out, and then the classic load balancer provides in that basic load balancing across the entire eMAM system. So that gives you the ability really to scale up. We have one of our largest clients has like 30,000 users and so on, but typically, we have hundreds to thousands of users using the system. You can start out very, very small and then grow and add load balancing with your database or with web streaming and things like that of your media and so on. But this gives you the ability to expand quite easily within the environment of AWS as well. So we can also do hybrid load balancing as well. So again, well, we'll go into it here in a second on the hybrid mode, but again, we can kind of spread components of the eMAM system out amongst the AWS and also on local servers as well to then kind of meet your needs as you grow. Some people don't want to put all their originals on the cloud. We can do that as well and keep things local. But again, this kind of gives us the ability to expand and then do load balancing for performance. And once again, on the monthly charges, it's pay as you go. So, you know, for partially maybe doing load balancing because you have big jobs coming in for a period of time, and then we back that down a little bit. But again, you only use as needed and pay as you go in that. Security and access. This is really important. We talked about encryption as well, but the ability through the this AWS system to securely manage all access to every media wherever it's stored. So only certain users and user groups are able to then view and review and do things with that media. And through the eMAM system, we have user groups, and through these IAM user roles and access keys, we can then control in the eMAM system what people can see and what people can do within that media and access that media at any time. So again, we utilize then the IAM as well to actually set up those roles and access keys to access the media within the system. Okay, so on the deployment side, only a few more slides here that are left. So on the deployment side, we can entirely put everything in the cloud. So what this would be is the eMAM database, the application servers, all your storage. You then have your edge locations, which are your CDNs, and then all your users can view from those CDNs as well. All those who are uploading or downloading from the media can connect through the eMAM database and gateway as well to upload and download media and manage everything. Basically, there's no IT. It's up in the cloud. It's managed, everything in the cloud, and your access, of course, having internet connection to the cloud, being able to then view, manage, and edit. If you're going to edit as well, I mean, like we had talked about earlier, you have the ability to go in and edit, say, Adobe Premiere or any NLE system to upload or download media or projects, and then be able to cut and edit and then update those projects as well. So again, this is a great way to, if you have remote offices everywhere and don't have an IT service and so on, this is perfect deployment for it. You also have what we call a hybrid mode, where if you have application servers, you have LTO tapes, you have storage stored locally, you have the ability then to manage the database and proxies in the cloud, which give you then access, or external users have access then to your proxies and view media. They can see media and transfer media and so on if you give them permission to do so. In this case here, you may have local editors working on very high quality video, such as RED or 4K video and so on. And in that case, you may have your editors locally here and editing off that storage, but you have the ability to do review and approve and delivery and have clients be able to preview different projects and so on. We have people who also do marketing campaigns through eMAM, through eShare, or eSend actually, and do branded messages out there as well. But the cool thing about this hybrid mode is all the originals would be stored locally, but the proxies are stored in the cloud, and that's where they're accessing that media. So they could be at a much different location, like in London or Sydney or wherever it may be, but yours might be back here in the States. They still have the ability to kind of manage and view that media as well. So again, utilizing the AWS platform, everything that we had talked about with load balancing, with storage, with transcoders and so on. In this case here in the hybrid mode, we'd have transcoding locally, but we could also have transcoding in the cloud as well and utilize that. So this is probably the most flexible and most used, widely used for eMAM in different configurations for our clients as well. Kind of wrapping it up here, this is kind of a list of some of our different clients that we have. Various clients use the cloud system to market videos as well. Some have everything on premise, but may store proxies in the cloud where things are viewed by outside users as well. And then others are actually editing completely in the cloud and storing all originals, everything up in the cloud. and then managing the entire setup and configuration up there. So depending on what you're looking for and what you're needing, this is a great way to go with eMAM and AWS and going from there. So if you have any questions, probably best to go ahead and start adding those questions if you'd like. What I wanted to do was go over the licensing of eMAM as well. So we do have an eMAM online system in AWS right now. So you can actually sign up for an account and within an hour or so be up and running with eMAM. On the right-hand side, that's eMAM Online. So everything's stored in the cloud, managed from the cloud. So really no hardware required on the eMAM Online. On the eMAM Vault and eMAM Publish, these are basic systems that get things started with the ability to archive locally. Typically, this would be locally on either spinning disk or LTO. Having the ability just to kind of manage and store everything locally at a very low cost, entry-level cost, and so on, to get things started with the eMAM Publish. You add the ability to share your media then with the different social media sites as well. So that's the difference between Vault and Publish, is social media delivery is added to that. Now, if you're doing any editing and so on, this is kind of our sweet spot, which is eMAM Workgroup. This gives you the ability to kind of manage production within the Adobe suite, having the ability to view and manage all media and projects through their panel. eMAM basically is inside of Adobe Premiere, for example, and editors are actually able to then edit media as well. If you are using Avid or Final Cut, we then export out projects through XML, and then you import those into those systems. But we also use third-party products like different products like with Vantage and others that allow us basically to manage media and projects through, say, Final Cut or through Avid as well. And then on the last one here, the enterprise, this is more management of larger systems. So this has multiple servers with backup, recovery, failover, and so on. Basically, these are systems that are very enterprise systems that need to be up and running constantly, and having backup and can't go down at any one point in time. So those with those needs would most likely be pushed over to the enterprise setup. The last two, you can actually subscribe to this and actually on an annual subscription, lease a license, or not lease a license, but through a subscription model, we can actually let you use the license for an entire year when you make 1 year annual payments. So you can continue doing that or go ahead and purchase the software, but it does give you the ability to kind of test out the waters for a year and see if eMAM is the right spot for you, right application for you, and then move on from there. The eMAM Online, I forgot to mention, this is a monthly charge on that one as well. And then the Publish and Vault are purchases on that. Okay, and I think we're going to wrap it up there. Let me see if there's any questions that came about. And if you have any, again, just go ahead and set that up through the questions area and just add those. Again, the handout for the presentation is there as well. I'm hoping you're able to find that and be able to download those, the entire presentation there as well. Again, AWS, with the way things work is basically you would go up and get your accounts set up with AWS and then decide specifically which license that you're looking for. You know, from the eMAM system, you would go ahead and license your system through eMAM or a reseller, and then be able to then connect the two with your account that you have, specifically with AWS and which services. We also have the ability to kind of go in and help you configure and set up those systems. We work with our resellers specifically to go through and manage that entire process. So we sit down and talk with you and the reseller to go through specifically your needs and then go ahead and define and design that system specifically on that. So questions typically come about, you know, what is the configurations that are required, how much storage, how much cost is involved in that. Typically what you're going to want to do is look at the amount of media and storage that you're going to need, capacity, go up to AWS, and they have a complete rundown of packages and pricing for you there as well. Okay, so that should answer most of the questions that came about. Again, this will be recorded and we'll make this available to you. The presentation's also available as well for download. And I appreciate the time, and we will see you next time on our next webinar. Thank you.